You are not family. You are an ATM that works for the family. The words that came from my mother through the smartphone speaker pierced my eardrum like sharp pieces of glass. It was a calm Friday night, just a few days before my 30th birthday. Everything started when I opened YouTube without thinking while relaxing on the sofa. At the top of the recommended videos, a familiar face appeared. With the flashy title, The Glorious History of the Anderson Family, 25th Wedding Anniversary Party Live, the thumbnail showed my parents smiling from ear to ear. I knew that my parents were running a YouTube channel for their own self-satisfaction, but I never imagined they would host the family's major event, their silver wedding anniversary party, there. The live footage showed the brightly decorated living room of my childhood home. A champagne tower sparkled, luxurious catered dishes lined the table, and familiar relatives and friends were gathered there. My brother Ethan appeared with his daughter and wife, laughing loudly beside my father and mother. Everyone was there except me. Feeling my heart turn as cold as if it had been submerged in ice water, I called my mother. After several rings, she finally answered, her voice lifted with the noise and excitement of the party. Madeline, what is it? I'm busy right now. It's not what is it. I'm watching YouTube. A wedding anniversary party? Why am I the only one who isn't invited? She responded to my question in an unbelievably cold voice. Oh, that. There's no space for you. And you are not family. You are just an ATM that works for the family. From the other end of the line, I heard my brother Ethan laughing shrilly after listening to her words. We're totally fine without you. You're just in the way, really. Then the call was cut off with a loud click. Not a single tear came out. ATM. Those 3 letters echoed over and over inside my head. Before anger, what rose up inside me was deep, deep emptiness. Then the events of the past 2 years flashed through my mind like a revolving lantern. It all began 2 years ago when my father retired. Believing his words, I want to live a relaxed life, but I haven't found my next job and our living expenses are unstable. I decided to shoulder their mortgage payments. $2,400 a month. It was by no means a small amount, but I thought of it as repayment for raising me. The total amount I paid in those 2 years reached $57,600. A year ago, when my mother longingly said she wanted to try driving a luxury car at least once, I bought her a brand new Mercedes-Benz as a token of gratitude for everything she had done for me. Of course, I paid for everything. But thinking about emergencies, I kept the car registered under my name, which in hindsight may have been the only thing that saved me. And 6 months ago, my brother Ethan said he wanted to fulfill his lifelong dream of opening a restaurant. I had been paying the monthly $3,000 for the store rent solely because I wanted to support that dream. Thanks to you, my dream will come true. I really appreciate it. The innocent smile on my brother's face overlapped with the mocking laughter I heard earlier. Their luxurious lifestyle was built entirely on my sacrifices. I believed without doubt that it was my way of expressing love for my family. However, to them, I wasn't a daughter or a sister deserving affection, but merely a convenient machine that silently dispensed money. It's time to end this. Both this barren relationship and this life of being endlessly exploited. My heart quietly and firmly reached that conclusion. The next morning, even though it was Saturday, I woke up at dawn. The sadness and emptiness from the day before were gone, and my mind felt shockingly calm and clear. I got out of bed, immediately opened my laptop, and searched for the contact information of the lawyer I trusted. Fortunately, he was the kind of reliable person who responded to urgent calls even on weekends. Madeline, that's a terrible story. We need to take action right away. Regarding the Mercedes, since the ownership belongs to you, there is no legal issue in retrieving it. I'll arrange for a professional towing company immediately. Nodding deeply at his strong words, I replied, Please, as soon as possible. Sensing my determination, the lawyer simply said, Leave it to me, and ended the call. Fortunately, all the documents proving ownership were in order, and 2 days later, shortly after 2 p.m., I received a message from my lawyer on my smartphone. The contractor has arrived. We're starting the retrieval now. The attached photo showed a large tow truck parked in front of my parents' familiar house. It looked like a scene from a movie. I was strangely detached about it. 15 minutes later, another message arrived. Retrieval complete. No issues. This time, the photo showed the Mercedes firmly secured onto the tow truck's platform and being taken away. And in the corner of the photo stood my parents and Ethan, frozen in shock at the entrance of the house. Even seeing their ridiculous expressions, my heart remained strangely calm. I simply accepted quietly that this was reality, and that this was only the beginning of paying them back for what they had done to me. After confirming that the Mercedes had been successfully retrieved, I finally focused on what I needed to do next. I sat in front of my computer and logged into my main bank's online banking. My fingers didn't tremble at all. On the screen, I saw a list of automatic transfers that had been set to send fixed amounts on fixed days each month. The first was $2,400 sent to my father's account for the mortgage. Without hesitation, I clicked the Stop button next to the setting. Do you want to stop this automatic transfer? I quietly selected Yes. Next was the $3,000 sent to Ethan Anderson's account for his store rent. There were also various utility payments and insurance fees I had set up at their request, and I stopped each one carefully, one by one. After confirming that every transfer setting had changed its status to stopped, I let out a single quiet breath. With this, the financial chains that had bound me to them were completely severed. Finally, I picked up my smartphone and opened the family group chat. Even then, cheerful photos from the party were still being posted one after another. Ignoring the noise, I tapped on the keyboard. This is my party gift to you. I simply typed that single, emotionless sentence. The moment I sent it, I proceeded to block my mother, my father, and Ethan one by one. Phone numbers, messaging apps, every social media account. I closed off every remaining method they could use to contact me. By the time I finished all the steps, the world outside my window was already bathed in the orange light of sunset. My phone would never again ring with their insensitive demands. Not a single dollar would ever again flow from my bank account to fund their extravagance. The silence was filled with a sense of liberation far beyond what I had imagined. But the quiet did not last long after I severed all means of contact. The following afternoon, my smartphone vibrated with an incoming call from an unknown number. I waited for it to switch to voicemail and listened silently as the message was recorded. Madeline, what do you think you're doing? Call me back immediately. It was my mother's hysterical voice. A stark contrast to the party, her voice trembled with panic and anger. That was the entire message. There wasn't a single word of apology. I deleted it with my emotions completely still. A few hours later, another call came from a different unknown number, leaving another voicemail. This time, it was my father. Hey, Madeline, enough with the nonsense. I got a call from the bank saying the mortgage payment didn't go through. What are we supposed to do if we lose the house because of you? Fix it right now. His voice was authoritarian and commanding, as if it were only natural and obligatory for me to pay. There was no trace of gratitude or apology there either. I calmly deleted this message as well. Later that night, the next call came. This time from my brother. Sis, what the hell are you doing? Do you even understand what happens if I can't pay the rent for my store? Are you trying to ruin my entire life? This isn't funny. It seemed he was finally being forced to face the reality that his dream existed only because my ATM function was supporting it. Even after that, they kept borrowing phones from relatives and friends, leaving message after message. Not a single one of them said, "I'm sorry," nor did anyone acknowledge their wrongdoing. After listening to all the messages, I deleted them in bulk and blocked all those numbers as well. Once they realized direct contact wouldn't work, their attacks shifted into a more insidious form. A few days later, I received a direct call on my cell phone from Mr. Foster, one of my father's golf friends. He was a gentleman who had known our family for years. Hello, Madeline. Sorry to call you out of the blue. It's about your father. He seems terribly depressed lately. He said he might even lose his precious golf membership. Did something happen? Though he pretended to be concerned, his voice clearly carried an inquisitive undertone. I let out a single sigh and calmly told him only the facts. I could hear Mr. Foster inhale sharply on the other end of the line. After a brief silence, he spoke again, sounding uncomfortable. I see. That's terrible. Actually, your father, he always boasted to us. My daughter is so capable. She'll support me as much as I need. Those words froze my heart even further. To my father, I wasn't even a daughter he was proud of. I was just a tool he used to show off in front of his friends. While my father attacked me to protect his reputation, my mother's actions were even more malicious. Frustrated that she could no longer reach me directly, she went as far as calling the representative number of my company. That afternoon, I was summoned to a meeting room by my boss. Seeing his stern expression, I braced myself for being fired. But what came out of his mouth was unexpected. Madeline, your mother called. She said you're mentally unstable and have been repeatedly acting aggressively toward your family. She advised us not to entrust you with important tasks. I felt the blood drain from my face. My mother was actively trying to destroy my professional reputation. Seeing how pale I had become, my boss continued gently. But that's not how it seemed to me at all. If anything, she sounded hysterical because her demands weren't being met. Do you think I would believe such a one-sided story after seeing your work all this time? I understand your family situation. The company is on your side. Focus on your work without worrying. I struggled to hold back tears at his warm words. Even if my family tried to tear me down, there were still people who saw me for who I truly was. That truth felt like a single ray of light cutting through the darkness. That night, I received a call from my father's sister, my aunt, who had always been calm, thoughtful, and caring toward me since I was a child. She was the only person I believed might question my parents' behavior, the one person who might understand me. Holding on to a faint sense of hope, I answered the phone. Madeline, are you okay? I heard everything from your father. It must have been hard for you. Her gentle voice wavered my heart just a little, but the words that followed made me doubt my own ears. But you know, Madeline, no matter what happens, parents are still parents. Maybe now that you're an adult, you should forgive your family, don't you think? As if all the blame lay solely on me, I responded calmly but firmly. Aunt, this isn't about forgiveness. To them, I wasn't even a human being. I was just an ATM. I'm done being exploited. I could hear the growing panic in her voice as she tried to find the right words. She searched for something to say for a few moments, then finally revealed her unbelievable true intention. Don't say that. Your father, your uncle, promised he would give me some spending money if I convinced you. In that moment, something snapped inside me. Even she, whom I had believed to be my only ally, was ready to sell me out for a small amount of money. She continued speaking on the other end of the line, but her voice no longer reached me. Without a word, I hung up and added her number to my block list as well. With that, any remaining affection I had for my family disappeared completely. I would fight for myself. 2 weeks passed since I stopped all financial support. The storm of calls and messages gradually subsided as I continued to show no response. Perhaps they were finally beginning to realize that I was serious. One afternoon, while I was working at my desk at the office, I noticed an email from an unfamiliar sender. The subject line read, "Regarding Ethan Anderson's business investment." My heart skipped a beat. The sender was someone named Gabriel Collins, who introduced himself as one of the investors in Ethan's restaurant. The email was written in extremely polite language, but the sense of urgency came through clearly. Dear Madeline, I apologize for the sudden message. There is an urgent matter regarding Mr. Ethan Anderson's business that I would like to confirm with you. Recently, he reported to me that the store's cash flow has worsened and that bankruptcy may be unavoidable if things continue as they are. However, all of us investors were told by him, my sister Madeline has a contract to fully back the business financially, so the cash flow will always be secure. Believing those words, we invested a large amount of money. If possible, may we ask to speak with you once regarding the actual situation? After reading the email, I let out a long sigh. Ethan had taken advantage of my goodwill in supporting his dream and twisted it into a lie, a supposed contract of full financial backing, to deceive investors and obtain funds. And when I stopped paying his rent, everything collapsed instantly. His dream restaurant had been built entirely on exploiting me and defrauding others. The tone of the investor's email carried not anger but confusion and a desperate desire to know the truth. They too were victims of Ethan's lies. I immediately called my lawyer and relayed the full contents of the email. After hearing the details, my lawyer spoke in a grave voice. Madeline, this is an extremely dangerous situation where you could be implicated. Your brother Ethan used your name and reputation to commit fraud. If you do nothing, you may be suspected of being his accomplice. His words sent a chill down my spine. What should I do? You need to act immediately to protect yourself. You must provide the investors with objective evidence showing the support you have actually given up to now. You must make it clear that you are merely a well meaning supporter and have absolutely nothing to do with any business contract Ethan claims existed. His advice was precise and sound. I began taking action that very day. Fortunately, I am meticulous by nature, and I had saved all past bank statements digitally. I went through 2 years' worth of records and exported every payment I had made, my parents' mortgage, Ethan Anderson's store rent, into PDF files. These records showed no sign whatsoever of any full business funding contract he had claimed, but instead strongly indicated that they were merely unilateral transfers from me, essentially gifts. Following my lawyer's instructions, I compiled the documents under the title Reference Materials for Fact Confirmation and sent them through his law office to Mr. Gabriel Collins, the representative of the investors. I did not attach any emotional letter, only objective facts, numbers, and dates. A few days after sending the documents, threatening messages from my family began arriving again through mutual acquaintances. Are you trying to destroy Ethan's life? You're a disgrace to the family. I ignored every insult they sent and simply waited quietly for a response from the investors. The documents I had provided were quickly shared among all the investors. A few days later, I received an official response from Mr. Gabriel Collins through my lawyer. All the investors have reviewed the documents you provided. It is now clear that Mr. Ethan Anderson gave us entirely false explanations. He exploited your goodwill to fraudulently obtain a large sum of money from us. This is an absolutely unforgivable act. There was no confusion in his message this time, only clear, justified anger at having been betrayed. And the message continued. We, the group of investors, have decided to file a joint lawsuit against Mr. Ethan Anderson for fraud. Therefore, we would like to ask if you, Madeline, would be willing to cooperate as a witness. Of course, this is not mandatory. However, your cooperation is essential in order to reveal the truth. The situation was far more serious than I had imagined, and I had stepped into a realm from which there was no turning back. To take my own family, my brother, to court. Just a few weeks earlier, the mere thought would have terrified me, but now I felt differently. They called me an ATM, mocked me, trampled on my goodwill, and even used my name as a tool in their fraud. When I recalled those facts, fear was replaced by a strong determination to fight here and now. This was no longer just my problem. It was also a fight for the investors who had been harmed by Ethan Anderson's lies, just as I had been. I called my lawyer and said in a firm voice, I will cooperate. As a witness, I will tell the court everything I know. Thus, the family dispute shifted to a legal battle to be judged in a public setting. After deciding to cooperate with the lawsuit, my lawyer and I spent our days preparing evidence and testimony. One day, the law office contacted me, saying that an envelope addressed to me had arrived with no sender listed. When my lawyer carefully opened it, he found only a short letter and a USB stick inside. The letter was written in distorted handwriting. I am a friend of Ethan Anderson. I can no longer follow his ways. I hope you will reveal the truth. After checking the contents of the USB, my lawyer immediately called me. His voice was unusually excited. Madeline, we have decisive evidence. That afternoon at the law office, I was shown the image files stored on the USB. They were screenshots of message app conversations. One participant was Ethan. The other was his close friend, Nathan. The date was from a little before Ethan opened his store. Nathan, you managed to gather the funds for the new store. That's impressive. Ethan, yeah, easy. I've got my sister. She's seriously the best ATM ever. If I tell her it's for the family, she'll hand over as much money as I want. I'll squeeze her dry and then toss her aside when I'm done. LOL. ATM. The very word my mother had thrown at me. It was not an insult spoken on impulse. It had been a word used routinely within the family to refer to me. The moment I saw the screenshot, any lingering attachment or sympathy I had for my family vanished completely. My lawyer said, with this, we are not just witnesses. You yourself can sue him as a plaintiff. We will demand compensation for emotional distress and the years of financial exploitation. I felt no hesitation. Please do it. I will sue him as well. With the courage given by an anonymous friend, I raised the first signal of my counterattack. The day of the trial was ironically clear, without a single cloud in the sky. The courtroom was packed with spectators. The scandalous case of a family who spoiled their son and exploited their daughter had become a prime target for local media and had drawn considerable attention. Ethan, sitting in the defendant's seat, and my parents behind him looking worried, appeared to have aged dramatically in just a few months. But I felt not a trace of sympathy. The trial began with testimony from the investors. They explained with anger how Ethan had used my name to lie that funds were secure and lure them into investing. And then, it was finally my turn. Standing at the witness stand, I answered my lawyer's questions calmly and clearly, explaining everything carefully, one step at a time. Then, my lawyer concluded with one final question. Madeline, how did the defendant, your brother Ethan Anderson, view you? At that cue, the courtroom's large screen displayed the message. My sister is just an ATM. I'll squeeze her dry. The moment that sentence appeared clearly on the screen, the previously murmuring audience fell completely silent. Ethan Anderson turned pale, and my parents stared back and forth between the screen and their son in disbelief. I looked straight toward the defendant's bench and said quietly, to them, I was not family. I was nothing more than a convenient wallet. The rest of the trial proceeded one-sidedly. Ethan's lawyer attempted a desperate excuse, claiming it was just a family joke, but such words meant nothing in the face of the malicious message displayed on the screen. Scenes from the courtroom made the front page of the local newspaper the next day. My parents' self-indulgent YouTube channel was flooded with criticism, leading to rapid backlash and its eventual shutdown. The verdict was delivered about 3 months after the first hearing. The result was a complete victory for me and the investors. Ethan was found guilty of fraud against the investors and was ordered to pay a large amount of compensation. Furthermore, he was also ordered to pay me a significant amount as damages for years of financial exploitation and emotional suffering. Naturally, Ethan had no ability to pay such a large sum. His dream restaurant had closed long before the trial even began, leaving him with nothing but massive debt and unemployment. In the end, he filed for personal bankruptcy. His sweet dreams and his pride were completely shattered. And the consequences extended to my parents as well. To cover part of Ethan's compensation and to fund their own living expenses, they were forced to sell the house they had been so proud of. The home filled with their vanity and lies was sold, and the three of them moved into a small apartment on the outskirts of town. The kind of life they had always feared. A life below normal. It was nothing more than the natural consequence of their own actions. The Mercedes-Benz I had taken back was kept at my lawyer's office for some time, but after the verdict was finalized, it was formally returned to me. I immediately sold the car to a used car dealer. I didn't want to keep anything that symbolized my past with them. Thus, the long and painful battle finally ended in my complete victory. After everything was resolved, my life began a new chapter. It felt as though a storm that had raged endlessly had finally passed, and calm, gentle light was beginning to shine through. My work performance at the company was recognized, and I was promoted to project leader. Freed from the pressure of supporting my family, I could focus on my work and perform far better than before. Using the settlement money from the lawsuit and the funds from selling the Mercedes as a down payment, I bought a new sports car just for myself. It was not for anyone's pride. It was a symbol of freedom meant solely to enjoy my own life. Although my relationship with my family was completely severed, I continued to stay in touch, quietly, with Chloe, my 10-year-old niece and Ethan's daughter. After the incident, his wife Ellie had completely lost patience with her husband and his family's sense of money and morality. Ellie allowed Chloe to continue seeing me, knowing I was the only responsible adult role model in her daughter's life. The other day, while eating ice cream together in the park, I gently but clearly told Chloe, "Chloe, remember this. Even if it's family, it is never okay to hurt or use someone. What matters is respecting each other." She nodded quietly, as if she understood something even at her young age. Having finally emerged from the long tunnel of exploitation, I was able to obtain true freedom and peace of mind through my own strength.